A former U.S. official is saying that the administration of President Donald Trump plans to adopt a hawkish position on the use of nuclear weapons. That's according to John Wolfstall, who was a special assistant to former U.S. President Barack Obama as senior director for arms control and non-proliferation. Well, he's saying that a new nuclear posture review prepared by Pentagon loosens constraints on the use of nuclear weapons and scenarios in which such weapons could be used. He says it also proposes developing small, lower-yield missiles that are easier to use. The plan is set to be published by Pentagon at the end of January. Arms control advocates have voiced the alarm at the new proposal, saying it will make a nuclear war more likely. Since taking office, Trump has been vocal in his support for nuclear weapons and an increase in the U.S. stockpile. All right, now to exchange information more on that, I'm joined from London by independent political commentator Adam Gary. Adam, good to have you with us. With President Donald Trump's mental health coming into, being questioned, especially these days, there has been a word on that. That book has just been out, Fire and Fury, as you know, and his mental stability is being questioned. And also, if you remember, he was, as he called the nuclear North Korean leader, Rocket Man, he threatened him that he has a bigger nuclear button on his desk that also works. So does this make you worried about the future? What's going to happen?
Well, it does, because the question on the tip of everyone's lips is he going to do it? Is he as insane as he sounds? And right now, the only collective sighs of relief that the world is experiencing are because few people could believe that a man could actually be as violent and as insanely violent as Donald Trump and some of the people around him sound. We've got to remember that while the leader of North Korea's button is defensive, as North Korean authorities have said multiple times till they're blue in the face, the danger is that the United States will use nuclear weapons in an offensive situation in areas where they would have otherwise used conventional weapons. And of course, we know how dangerous it is when the U.S. uses conventional weapons aggressively. The U.S. hasn't been in the situation of a defensive war for many, many decades. Almost every war the U.S. has ever been in, and this is an aggregation of its entire history, has been an aggressive war that has nothing to do with defending against an invasion, nothing to do with the interests of the people of the United States, and even less to do with world peace. So when you take this very dangerous track record and you combine it with rhetoric which seeks to normalize the use of nuclear weapons in the most pedestrian of situations, one really wonders about the sanity not only of Trump, but of Nikki Haley and of Mad Dog Mattis, who's ironically saner than both Haley and Trump, if his words are to be believed, and of course McMaster, who's also said some very worrying things. Then of course we also have Mike Pompeo, a man who's filled with conspiracy theories about Julian Assange, about Russia, about the Lebanese resistance, none of which are based in fact. It's a very dangerous set of characters.
And Adam, how do you see, now the situation's kind of changed. I mean, the two Koreas, for the first time after 2 years in the demilitarized zone, the leaders got together and they had direct meeting. So there seems to be some kind of thaw in the tensions. So how do you see the prospect of the Korean issue?
Well, the people of the two Korean states are a single people with a single culture and a single history and a single language and a single tradition. The division is purely political and in that sense is purely artificial. It is the U.S. whose aggressive techniques are seeking to pry the two Korean states further and further apart. If one actually pays attention to the speeches and indeed the songs coming out of North Korea that speak about unification, they speak about brotherhood and they speak about the sorrow of separation. If one looks at the peaceful demonstrations in South Korea against U.S. militarism and for fraternal relations with fellow Koreans, you'll see that there is a very real impetus among the single Korean peoples for a de-escalation and for the establishment of dialogue. Now, this wouldn't have happened under the U.S. puppet warmonger Park Geun-hye, who was the former South Korean president and is now languishing in prison for her crimes against her country. But under Moon Jae-in, in spite of the bind he is in because of the United States, I do believe that there is a president in Seoul who shares the same peace-minded views that the leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, reiterated in his New Year's message. The U.S. doesn't want this. The U.S. needs a permanent, ongoing conflict in the Korean Peninsula because they can use it to retard China's progress in terms of One Belt, One Road and other economic initiatives, and they can use it to sell very expensive and very deadly weapons to regional powers, most notably Japan. So while the two Korean states have made very good moves that should be universally applauded, the cynicism about it that's coming from the United States betrays what the U.S. really wants in East Asia, which is the continuation of conflict. They don't want peace because they can't make money from peace. China, however, can make money from peace.
Okay, thank you for your thoughts. Adam Guerra, independent political commentator, joining me from London.